And clearly we've had, unfortunately, some technical issues stopping us going racing as we'd like tonight. But we're going to go again with the field exactly as it was when the safety car happened. We've had a few people in the chat. We've had people, venting their frustration. And I understand it is very frustrating when you're in that race, you're in the heat of battle, and suddenly it gets taken away from you. Unfortunately, it's part of racing on this game, and with servers that can be unstable at times, where people can see different things from one another, it is our responsibility to make sure that the races are safe and consistent. And ultimately, if we have quite a few drivers that we had, you might not be able to see it, but other drivers reporting to us that they are seeing different things to other people on stream, if there's desync issues that can cause random crashes, we're going to try and prevent that. So, as it is, we go again. We're going to do a 50% race. It's going to be dry. We're going to have it set with the grid as it was after the safety car. And yeah, I think we're still in here for a really fascinating race, aren't we, Connor?
Yes, we definitely are. I mean, the grid is set from the last safety car restart, so which is when the glitch was noticed. So that is the only real time we could go from, to be honest. But I think this is still a very mixed up grid. Like, Martin has now put himself in. Don't forget, Martin, if you look at the championship, it's still right up there as well. So the top 4 are actually the 4 that are still in this championship fight. So that makes it very, very interesting. Kayla Soze now. It'll be interesting to see the tyre choices people have gone for, because this is where, now it's sort of a sprint race in some weird way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
it's a sprint race compared to what we were going to have.
Yeah, but it's just the second half. It's like we've done a double header tonight. It's like we've done tier 3 and tier 4. But,
yeah.
Just in MRCX terms. But I'm just glad we've got going again, because then it can cause no controversy to the championship at the end. It's the fairest way of doing it, so.
Yeah, fingers crossed there. The last thing we wanted was to do something like have a called off race or half points, and it's a murder for the spreadsheet, because then you have to put in 12.5 points and it messes up everything. So
I think Baby Hornet would have been rocking in his chair shouting at us.
Exactly.
And I wouldn't blame him.
No, I wouldn't blame him at all. But we go again. Good luck to all the racers, and fingers crossed this time you get it right. Let's have a look at the tyres the drivers are on. You've got Saviour and Single Track on the hard, Bailey on the mediums, G-Star on the hards. And then you've got a good mix as you go down the field. I think the one who's the real outlier there is Chris Bailey. Of course, he is desperate for this championship.
Start, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think his first target will, of course, be Single Track, who is an elite driver, but isn't quite in. I think he was having a slower
fight, but but don't forget, Single Track's also got a setup this time.
Yes, yeah, so he might be a little bit different. Yeah. He's certainly the one who seemed to benefit. He stayed out under the safety car, and that has played into his hands, as it would if you in a real race and the red flag's there. All drivers then get a fresh set of boots on, and
also, just to point out, who said that the red flag was a new feature for F1 23? We also have it for 22.
Yes, yeah, clearly we've been able to get that functionality implemented nice and early.
In some strange way, very similar to a real life red flag, because now everyone's got fresh tyres. Single Track's now got a setup on his car, A lot of people have benefited weirdly that you wouldn't expect to benefit, as they do from normal red flag scenarios.
Correct, yeah, and that's part of racing, isn't it? It can be frustrating when you've got a good race and a late safety car comes out or something happens, but yeah, that's what we have to deal with all the time. But now it is time to go. Let's have a look. I'm going to go on board with Single Track here. You can see the lights start. Come on, game, please, and we're away. Single Track off there with a good start off the line. Chris Bailey just snaking away. Look at those cars behind him. There's 3 wide at the back. As we head down to the first corner, it's all going to be safe and sound. Is it Kaiser Soze after the 4th place? G-Star on the 5th back. Mazo down into 6th, so not quite making those medium tyres work. As you see them go side by side, and Kid Dynamite's one who's gone very wide there. And I don't know if he set it up in the wall, but he's down in 10th, 11th place. It's been an awful start.
Big moment, and now he's side by side with Gavin. They've just come extremely close. Oh, Gav's just made contact with Mutts Nuts. That's not ideal. Norby's also round.
Look at this. It is still, it might be a new race, but it is still chaos at the back as much as you can see having to get off the loud pedal and make sure he doesn't plough into the back of those 2 cars ahead. I can't see any damage, thankfully, on Kid Dynamite's car.
Here is Kaiser Soze, though. Those mediums have worked to treat him off the side. He's got past G-Star and Bat Mazo. He's now right up the chuff of Chris Bailey, but Chris Bailey is also fiddling with that rear end of Single Track.
Look at this, and he's done that so many times in the previous race before the red flag, and he's done it once again. Up into P2, he's just got such a better drive out of those corners, and now it'll be his job to hunt down Saviour, who's ahead, who's on that harder tyre. He's going to want to get within the DRS range within the next 2 laps and hang on for dear life. I think he might be driving a little bit angry, but I think that's going to make him get a couple more tenths on the board as well. He's very determined for this championship. He wants it. I'm going to go for war with Kaiser Soze now. These 2 red and white cars together, Kaiser Soze and Single Track. Is he the one who's going to make the move? Remember that there's no DRS, so he's going to have to use ERS as he's right up in the gearbox of that one as we head down into the first corner. Single Track taking the inside line. He says, Kaiser Soze, you're going to have to go round the outside as we head into turn 1. You're going to make it? No, look at how Martin just plants that car on the apex. And there's just nowhere for Kaiser Soze to go. Excellent defensive driving. And although Single Track's now that gap between him and Bailey is 2 seconds, he's kept P3 on track.
I think those hard tyres are taking a little while to get heat into because some appear to be struggling. I think Carl's just had a moment yet. Carl's round in the start of the S's exit of turn 2, so that's not ideal for him. But yeah, I think the hards are really taking a while because if you look at the grip Kaiser has compared to Single Track, and look at how close Bailey's got to Saviour. Yeah,
again, he's all over the back as we hair into this hairpin section, and this is where we've seen Bailey get such better traction than other cars ahead of him. It's where he got Martin ahead. You can see that gap. It is coming down 0.4, 0.35, but I just don't think he's got the same run. He's going to have to wait, I reckon, until the DRS is available if he wants to get Saviour, unless he wants to spend some ERS now. As we head down this long straight to 130. What's he going to do? He's right up in the gearbox of Saviour. Does he dare make the move? He's just tucking in. You can see, look at the battle. There's such a little distance there. We're going to have a Senna Prost moment. He thinks about it, but pulls out. He wants this.
Sensible. But I think the hard runners are definitely struggling a little bit. But
yep.
There's contact. G-Star's round. He made contact with Barmezo.
Racers, we just go up ahead to the front. It's Chris Bailey, he's along side by side. Remember, there's no that he's going to get through on the inside, and Saviour has to pull out. That's an excellent move from Bailey. Now he needs to get up the road, get out of that 1 second thing. Saviour will just want to make sure he has DRS because that's when the hards are coming to them. G-Star's out.
Leader is out.
Goodness me, and that's a full yellow. You can see a stranded G-Star.
That's a VSC.
Yeah, Bit makes his way round. It's just a VSC for the moment, so I'll just neutralise the race, give us time. Let's just get the detail of position change up.
Kicking himself. He's the championship leader. That's going to be a big points loss for him today.
Yeah. Yeah, and he kept it relatively clean, I think, for the for our first half, but that luck can't always last. He's going to be down in 15th place. Have a look at the big winners lose off the start. So Chris Bailey up 2, Saviour and Single Track down 1, Kaiser up 2, Donny up 4, RFC down at 1, Mark Hodgson up 8 places at the restart. An excellent run from him. Night Shadow down 3, and it's back Mazo down 4, Lorpy down 4, and Bit down 2. They're our biggest losers, unfortunately, after our red flag.
Yeah, the VFT. I mean, Carl would have definitely been hoping for a full safety car there because it would have brought him back on the pack. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out now. How long will those hard tyres take to get sort of into the correct window? That's going to be the bit that's intriguing now.
I think it is. It's all about strategy. We've got on board with Saviour now, who is on the hards, and it said race control. Yes, you can see that flap opening at the back. So he's just able to throw that little lasso rope around Bailey and hang on for now that gap at half a second. But it's through the S's where Bailey will want to lean on this yellow wool tyre. Make that extra grip count. This is where you can make up so much time. I think this is where you see the difference, and you can see that gap go up about once more. So only about by 2 tenths he's going to have to extend that out to a second if he wants to make the tyre advantage stick for now. Back down the field, who else have we got? We've got another fascinating battle, I think, between Kaiser Soze and Single Track for our final podium position. That's another tyre difference, but flipped. I think Kaiser Soze is the one who's going to make it up through the S's. Single Track now with a setup on his car, looking a little bit more planted, a bit racier.
Yeah, Donny's had a crash in up Dunlop, sadly for him, so he's just gone backwards into a wall, so he's going to be dropping down the position, sadly.
It's unfortunately just a yellow in Sector 1, but he's got back going again. Fingers crossed there's not too much damage on that car. Still on board with Kaiser Soze at the moment. Keeping tabs on single track, but not looking too racy. I'm going to go back to Mark, though, who, another one of our elite class, RFC Danny, will be the leader of the Challenger class at the moment. So this is where you've got the biggest pace difference. They're all on the same tyre. And I think Mark will fancy his chances because he has got Kid Dynamite right at the side. He's going to go on the inside. He's a 130R. He gets the move done. RFC Danny, look, and it's... Oh, they've been two of them together! That's a huge incident. And both of them are out.
So I was on board with Danny there, and I'm really confused as to what's just happened. Did Kid try and go round the outside?
Well, that's going to bring the safety car out, so it can neutralise the field. So I think we saw it on stream as well. As you can see, two stranded cars there. It was a big incident for both of them.
I'm going to go back and have a look at this, because I was on board with Danny, and I'm so confused as to what's just happened.
What happened to me on stream, I think, was that Mark made the move, and Kid Dynamite also had the overspeed, so attempted to go around the outside. RFC Danny kind of found himself at, oh my goodness, where do I position my car on track?
He kind of backed out a little bit by the looks of the onboard.
He just didn't need to go, and maybe he still needed to commit to the corner, but I understand it's hard when you've got two very fast drivers breathing down your neck. There was contact, and it's the kind of contact where the front wing of Kid Dynamite went right into the back right of Donny. It speared them both out into the wall. Massive contact. Kid Dynamite had a big rear impact, which seemed to DNF his car. And then, yeah, it was the same for RFC Danny, who lost a bit of carbon fibre and the wheel off the front. So, big incident, going to neutralise the field once more. And once again, I do wonder if we're going to see a very hot-headed, angry Bailey at the end of this race. He wanted to make that medium tyre work, he wanted to stretch it out, he had the perfect opportunity, and now the more laps he does on those mediums, the more it just brings the hard into its working zone, the medium further out of it. Yeah, he's not going to want to be done by an undercut or an overcut.
Just seen that incident. Wow, that's all I have to say. Yeah, that was a big impact.
It was, yeah.
That's such a shame for Danny as well. Like, he was leading, and obviously he was definitely going to gain points on Jackster today, because Jackster obviously DNF'd before the safety car of the last race, so he was out. But now, all of a sudden, the wily old fox, Mr. Night Shadow, the championship leader, finds himself back in the lead of Challenger tier.
Yeah, he does. And as we said before, we said it's the one way you want to make sure that you get to the point in the season where if you're in the lead, you just want to extend that lead. And if you're chasing, then races are running out. You're worried that every time you don't beat the driver in first place, it's just going to get further and further away from you. Worked out really well for Night Shadow. Jackster unfortunately retired earlier. Now, with that retirement for RFC Danny, the pressure's off in a way, isn't it? I'm having a look down the rest of the field. What other elite tier drivers are behind Night Shadow? Is it Lorpy and
Carl?
Carl, yeah. So
Gab's there on merit at the minute. But
certainly.
I know a lot of people have made efforts on liveries tonight, so are you happy for us to go through a livery of the day kind of search?
Yeah, let's go for it. So who should we start? Start with our race leader.
Let's start with Chris. He's gone for a Japanese themed, I think he said it was Toyota? Could be wrong. Looking at he put it in Discord, but he said it was definitely, he was one of the most recent to put it, so let's have a little look. He said Chris Bailey called it a Toyota LMP1, so hypercar. So yeah, his is very nice. I like that. Saviour, his looks like, I love the matte black.
Yeah, it's good, and I think it contrasts really well with that sort of like grey blue. He looks like business, doesn't he? It looks like if you go to team sport karting, and there's always like the dark karter, the person who's going to be really quick on track and intimidating in your mirrors. That's Saviour to a T. We've got a safety car in this lap.
We'll come back to that later, but yes, more intriguing things. But single track quickly, he's gone for a not so super Aguri.
Well, he's doing pretty super well now. Hopefully he can.
Is, but the car itself, back in the day, was pretty awful.
Yes,
to put it kindly.
He's no E-Day though. He's proving himself tonight. We're going to go on board with Chris Bailey then. Let's see when he's going to go all about tyre warm-up and not getting on the loud pedal too soon. He's got very smoothly out that chicane, and has it kept Saviour sleeping a bit? It has.
Not helped Saviour. His tyres are not warm enough, and he's had a big twitch out the final corner, which is going to give Bailey a good advantage.
Yes, no, that's excellent work there. And I think it's Kaiser Soze who's got the best run on single track again. He's on those medium wall tyres compared to the hards ahead. He's having a sniff, but there's not much going on there. I'm going to go back to Night Shadow and Nuts. Nuts looking racy through these S's. He's on the medium tyre as well, so he'll want to make that work up against Night Shadow, who's talk about livery cars. That's a very good livery car, or he's just picked a McLaren because it is a specific image.
He's banned from the vote because of the lack of effort.
No,
MRCX is about effort. That's
yes.
what this is about.
That's fine. All the effort though tonight, not going on the livery, but certainly they're on track as he leads.
He's definitely, yes, he's driving very well. I understand why he's kept it. It's been his lucky car in X this season. It's put him top of the championship, but it doesn't mean he shouldn't change it. He still should.
Right. So look, now, of course, the field nice and bunched up now, so we're going to see a lot of action at the back. Let's see who we've got. We've got Donny at the back of this train that stretches all the way back from Night Shadow. His maybe been a little bit of a cork in the bottle as we see Donny and Lorpy maybe come to blows. This will be for P10 and P9 on track.
How amazing is it to see a Challenger tier driver giving a Elite tier driver a run for his money here, though, because he is right all over the rear end of that. Of Lorpy.
Yeah, it is incredible to see Chris Bailey putting in a purple lap fast of the race so far, of this new restarted race, and extending that gap up ahead to 1.7 seconds. But if you see this battle about Lorpy past Johnny Smooth, are they going to go 3 wide into turn 1? There's so much danger there. And I think it's Johnny Smooth who just keeps the position, parked it on the apex on the inside, and that's Donny into P10, Lorpy up into P8, so he's got a car between him.
Yeah, what made that so much more impressive is Lorpy turned defence into attack there. Because obviously he was heavily defending round the final corner from Donny, and then all of a sudden managed to get the run on Johnny, and quite a sensational overtake. Yeah, excellent overtake. Great racecraft from him. Look back up and down the field at who our closest battler are. Kaiser Soze still really sniffing all over the back of Martin, but we know how wide Martin can make the cars he drives, and Japan is all about putting it on the apex. Yeah. I spent half a race behind him in Mexico, and it was the most painful experience of my life. Painful, but he knows where to put it, doesn't it? And it's all legal, it's all hard driving. But yes, it's very legal. That's what's frustrating. And you can always tell when a car behind them is going quicker. I saw it a lot in Hungary. They sort of like, if you're quicker, you use more of the track. You're sort of weaving left and right, trying to go the long way around corners, but it just never quite seems to pull it off. Kaiser Soze, of course, will have DRS. Martin is a long way outside of that zone now. Let's see if that setup, if Kaiser Soze is going to be able to do anything. That gap now is up to 0.4 seconds. Going to go on board. That flap opening, DRS has only just become enabled, so he won't have it this lap. Maybe he'll have to wait 1 lap more, but every lap means that battle at top 2 of Bailey and Saviour, they just get a couple of seconds further up the road. That's putting Kaiser Soze out of contention for a podium spot tonight. What will be interesting is, though, if Kaiser can navigate his way past single track, which I think with the tyre advantage, I don't think single track will fight it quite as hard at this moment in time. But it'll be interesting to see how much of an inroad Kaiser can make on Saviour, because the hard tyre runners definitely seem to be struggling at this early phase. Yeah, I think the big thing for the hard runners is just knowing how long they can take those tyres and see if they can do a bit of an overcut on those drivers around them who will have to pit earlier on the mediums. Kaiser Soze, though, losing some time there, as maybe those mediums are starting to struggle a little bit. That's the issue with being stuck that close behind a car, though, isn't it? That's what's the main issue. Like, while he's this close to single track around all these high-speed corners, it's really going to start to take a toll on his tyres. He's going to have to start to lean on them a lot more for that slight extra grip. Yeah, that dirty air will really be no help around here, particularly when you need it through those S's sections. You want to make the most of the clear air. Chris Bailey making the most of that at the moment, but I'm on board with Johnny Smooth, Donny, who are all behind Lorpy now. Johnny Smooth not giving this up. It has been really impressive tonight. I wonder what's going to happen when we get our first little blast of DRS this lap. It's got a very good exit. That car's shaking a little bit. Of course, Lorpy won't have any. You can see that flap open up on the rear end. Is that time coming down? It is coming down, but I just don't think he's going to be close enough. He's thinking about a little move up the inside. No, it's not going to happen. All the cars very sensibly going through there in single file. So
We'll have to wait another lap to see if anything happens with Lorby. Oh no, that Johnny Smooth, he's gone very wide in the S's, and that's put him down into P11. It's Ghost Rider who's got through up into P9.
It's good to see Ghost Rider back in. At least he managed to get back in after all that, because I felt a bit bad for the fact that I've realised that he's actually pitted in this race as well from medium, so Ghost Rider's on reasonably fresh tyres here.
Yeah, obviously got on those mediums fairly soon, maybe I guess after the first safety car. Not quite sure what other set of tyres he's going to take, because those mediums certainly won't go to the end. Japan does tend to chew your tyres up a little bit.
Yeah, it does, but I think that gap between Xavier and Chris now has started to stabilise, and I'm wondering if the mediums are starting to fall away from these guys, because if you look, Kaiser Soze is also dropping off the back and actually falling into the clutches of Mr. Hodgson. So,
yeah, no, it's not easy as well. I've got Mutz Nuts, who is one of our medium tyre runners. He's all over the back of Night Shadow. Gav, of course, these two both in the Challenger tier. So this is for the Challenger. He has let him through. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, Gav's a nightmare for this, isn't he? He will let people through if he thinks he's going to advantage him with the DRS.
Though, to get out of that little section and be able to get close enough. I don't think that. I think maybe he just thought he's on a fresher tyre or on a better tyre than me at this stage. I'll be able to get the advantage towards the end on lower fuel. Or he tried to get the DRS and got it slightly wrong with exit.
Yes, he didn't seem to have the same pull away, did he? And as soon as away, he was never going to be able to just get that place back. So that's down into 7th, or P2 on the road for the Challenger class tier, but not the end of the world for Gav. We still have most of his title rivals out of contention tonight. Because who else have we got? Where are the big battles we've got between Ghost Rider and Lorpy? Ghost Rider, as I said, back into the race this time and looking very racy indeed.
Just to comment on Ghost Rider, I absolutely love his livery.
It does look good, doesn't it? It is striking.
It really looks nice.
Yeah.
That might be my... I might announce it now, livery of the day, Ghost Rider.
You've had a long time to look at them. Fingers crossed.
I've been scouting them as well. But shout out to Mark Hodgins as well. His is very nice. I like his. So...
Yeah, that's another one. I thought him and... I know he's out of the race now. Kid Dynamite, I always liked his blue and yellow mitts. Mark may have been slightly inspired by that, but it's just a lot more lively as I'm on board with the Middlesbrough man. He'll be upset by their loss midweek and he'll want to get revenge.
You should bring this up. The Coventry fan going at the Borough fan.
Oh, well, sorry. No, hey, no, that's just a coincidence. I'm just spitting facts. But no, I wish all the best for Mark and Michael Carrick's men next season. As we see, is it Mutz Nuts Suzette? Yeah, Kaiser Soze dips into the pits, one of our first medium tyre runners. So we're just going to stick on board with him. Let's see what band of tyre he's got, and that is, a fresh pair of hards. So as you suggested, Connor, those mediums might start to be going away from some of the drivers, and now maybe it's the time to get on a fresh set of hards. It'll be really interesting to see what Kaiser Soze can do with some clear air from P11, which is the position he's going to come out with, well ahead of Back Mazo in 12th.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely going to be... the medium runners are definitely starting to struggle. Look how the gap, like you said, has come down between Xavier and Chris, and also, Kaiser Soze genuinely had the box because of it. So, the mediums, I did notice, I did a few laps of Japan earlier, and I thought the hard tyre actually had pretty good tyre wear, but when you got to the mediums, they had awful tyre wear, so it's definitely something to watch out for. But there's also, there's not a massive difference in performance between the two tyre, in my opinion, here, so...
No, and it'll be nervy for Chris up front, who again, he'll be in the lead, he'll have track position, he doesn't have Xavier in DRS at the moment, but that gap's just stabilising / coming down every bit, and the more Xavier catches, the more he'll be tempted to get off that medium tyre. I'm just going to quickly go to the gap from the leader, so pit stop usually takes around 20-25 seconds. Okay, excellent, so I'm going to bet that he's going to come out maybe P10 after Bit and after Johnny Smooth. I'm going to stick on board with Johnny Smooth. Let's see if we see that red and white car of Chris Bailey, where it's going to filter out.
Very, very close. He might get out between Bit and Johnny just about. It's going to be super. Yeah, I think he's going to get out ahead of Johnny because Johnny's just coming around the final corner now. So
yeah,
Chris, he's out ahead. So he's out in front of. Oh, it's side by side between him and Cole. Oh, but Cole is sensible enough not to challenge it too much, so Chris out ahead of Cole.
Yeah,
that was squeaky then.
Excellent work, and as you can see, Chris Bailey, I've got the gap between him and the leader there, so 21 seconds now between him and Xavier, so that means that pit stop round here maybe 22, 23 seconds if you're trying to do any pit, if you've got anybody on the pit wall for you, then that's what you want to consider if you are planning your spot. I think Xavier's going to maybe stay out and try and extend that lead, extend that gap. The one thing Chris won't want is traffic, and he's got it about 2 seconds up the road with Ghost Rider and Lorpy, both of which have been very competitive. He does not want to find himself trapped in one of those battles, but we know how well he's got past slower drivers today. He's been very, very racy.
The issue for the guys out front though in Xavier and single track is, like, ideally what they'd have loved to do is, I think Donnie's gone round in the middle sector. No, sorry, just up Dunlop, so into before taking the one. But I think what's interesting is the hard runners, they would have ideally wanted to maybe try and get the overcut on those guys, but obviously it's too early to go on the mediums. Actually, no, they'd actually be fine to go on the mediums now. And bearing in mind, bearing on what we saw early on, the hard took a while to warm up, so it would be interesting to see. And Chris is also in traffic, so could Xavier really gain from this?
Yeah, just on board with Chris Bailey there. He's making up time down that DRS straight, but not enough. So this is where he'll really start to feel it. He knows how quick he can go through the S's. He'll know how much those drivers in front will be struggling on those older hard tyres. He'll have so much more grip, but nowhere to go. And look at him as he's right up the gearbox of Ghost Rider, who's got to feel absolutely terrified now. You've got that red in your wing mirrors. It's reminiscent of like an angry Michael Schumacher or Fernando Alonso. And Bailey is just trying to push him through this set of corners now. Get out of my way. I have got a race to win, he says. But Ghost Rider, he's not yielding. He doesn't have to. This is for position on the racetrack.
Yeah, and the more this is going on, the more this is playing into Xavier's hand. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we potentially see Xavier in at the end of this lap. Obviously, he doesn't know what's happening, but can I just point out one thing? How long has Ghost Rider been stuck behind Lorpy? What a sensational defensive job Lorpy's done.
Excellent from Lorpy, but once again, that's what Chris doesn't want. He doesn't want a DRS train. He doesn't want to have to get past two. He just wants one. And let's see, I wonder...
Chris is going to be trying everything. He needs to literally get past it. I'm going to go to Xavier and see it. No, so Xavier's carried on. To be honest, he probably can get away with it at the minute because of the traffic Chris is in. Nuts is also pit from the lead of the Challenger tier, so... Yeah.
Oh, that was good. Chris Bailey, there's been contact between him and Ghost Rider at the back there, and he's actually lost the position. Now he's behind Bit. It seemed that Ghost Rider and Lorpy were coming together a little bit, and Chris maybe got a bit caught out by that. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, Nuts is in the pit, so Bailey's up to 8th, but he's got another car to get past with Bit now, and that will have played a hand to Xavier. That's got to mean that if Xavier pits now, he would come out in front of Chris Bailey on track.
Yeah, I mean, that's potentially, because don't forget as well, Xavier's going to be going on to the medium, so that may well have just gifted Xavier the potential win of this race now. But yeah, I mean, Chris is one that definitely will not give up to the end, and a late safety car could quite easily change absolutely everything.
Oh,
but
precisely.
It's far from ideal for Chris now. That's going to cost him a lot of time. I'm sure him and Carl will not fight too hard, because I know him and Carl are very good friends. But Ghost Rider will probably be getting ever so frustrated as well, because he's going to have to pit again, and what he could have really done with is just escaping Lorpy and trying to push onto Gab, but it's just not worked out for him, has it?
Yeah, I can't remember what set of tyres Ghost Rider started on. He started on the hards. He can go hard, medium, which...
Xavier, sorry.
Yeah. Let's
just quickly, but
an eye on him. I'm going to keep on Bailey then and see. I reckon that Bailey is going to come out not ahead of Xavier as he goes side by side with Bit. Yeah, that wasn't very hardly thought. So through goes the red and white man. Oh, it's all about...
Xavier's going to be a long way clear. He's at the exit already. Yeah. So...
Is Xavier going to get caught up in traffic though? Let's see where he comes out.
It's not going to be that much of a distance, to be completely honest with you. Chris just needs to get right back on the back of Ghost Rider and Lobby quickly, navigate them. And if Xavier can get held up potentially by a Gab or a Mark here, then maybe Chris can find his way back in, because don't forget, we saw how much those mediums worn. After about 8-9 laps they started to go, didn't they? So, and Xavier's going to have to do 11 here, so Chris could still do this.
Oh, certainly, there is all to play for. What I will say is look at the gap between Xavier and Lorpy. It's not like he came out behind Lorpy and Ghost Rider where Chris Bailey was. He's a good 2 seconds up the road from those. So I think even if Chris hadn't had that little incident, he'd still find himself in this same position with Xavier having a nice, healthy gap between him and the 2 cars behind. But up in front, we've got Single Track on the hards and Mark H on the hards as well, up into 2nd place. It's been a stunning drive from him this evening to get into position.
I do want to point out, though, as much as Lorpy's done absolutely nothing wrong, I don't think he's going to be on Chris Bailey's Christmas card list after this one. And
no, but
Ghost Rider, because he's just got stuck. Of course, neither of them, as far as I'm aware, have done anything wrong, defensively or anything, but I think, Donnie's gone in the pits as well, so...
Yeah.
Hello, Rob's Cats as well, welcome to the stream.
I know, she is all over me, she is being a pest, so apologies if you can hear that. I'm going to be on board with Ghost Rider, who's just 0.2 behind. He hasn't been able to make the move stick. Who's going to go? Oh, yes. Oh, that's Lorpy going into the pit. So finally, Ghost Rider is unshackled as we get a lot of drivers, those hard runners, all going off onto the mediums now. So it's Chris Bailey, though, who's doing the road on Ghost Rider as well, and he's up into P2.
Super close. Very good driving from Ghost Rider there, though. He knew Chris was there, pulled over far enough over, and just knew it wasn't his fight right now. He's on much older tyres. Now, it'd be interesting to keep an eye on that gap between Chris and Xavier. Oh, 5 seconds for Chris! He overtook under a yellow flag!
Oh, goodness me. That's bad, but maybe it's not as bad as it could be because we know how quick he is to the cars behind. Now it's all on Martin to try and make that up. The last thing he'll want now is a late safety car. He'll just want the race to run and run and run. And maybe if he feels it's unjust, he can bring it up in the stewards.
Oh, but, I mean, yeah, like you said, if there's a late safety car, that could well change everything.
Might take the win off the table, but now he's just got to consolidate. P2 isn't the end of the world. Remember that he's fighting. The person who's in the lead of the championship at the moment is G-Star Snipes. So any points, 18 points are just as, they're not quite as good as 25. But he's going to make up 18 points on his championship rival. So he just does need to keep his head down, thoughts clear, and make the most of what, don't make a bad situation worse.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing we know is from Chris, there's not many better drivers in this league at getting their foot down and just going. So I'm sure he can create the gap to Ghost Rider, especially with the age of Ghost Rider's tyres. But if I was Martin and Mark, I'd be smelling blood at the moment and absolutely going for it.
I was just going to say what a move it was from Kaiser Soze, but I went on board and he's just lost it on the last of the chicane, spun round, and there's been contact between him and the car in front. He's not going to go into the pits. I think he might have been caught up with back Mazo, Johnny Smooth. Let's see if any of them are getting any changes. Is it Johnny's having a change? Yeah, he's sitting in there having his front wing changes.
I think Bat Mazo's got away without damage, but yeah, Johnny definitely did.
Yeah, there was unfortunate contact between the two of them, so that means that they have gone into the pits or suffered a bit. So it's Kaiser Soze down to P9 on the road. Field's starting to spread out a little bit. But
I'll tell you something though, what is really impressive is the drive today from Ghost Rider. He's done 14 laps, which was, I think it's the furthest anyone's gone on mediums in this race.
It feels crazy long.
Yeah, his pace still seems fairly strong. And if you look, his nearest competitor is Mutsnuts, who's on the hard tyre in P7. If you're Ghost Rider at this point, and your tyres are still feeling okay, do you just keep pushing and trying your absolute best to go to the end? Because he's got a lot of cars between him and his nearest competitor.
You can. I think the one worry, though, particularly on this game, is when you can get punctures. When you get into that 70% penalty,
course, yeah.
That's when the heart really starts to pound and you think, oh my goodness, this is just a lottery. Every corner I go around.
We speak.
Yeah, so
I don't blame him, but ultimately there was a lot of cars between here. He didn't have to push too much, but once those tyres go, they obviously go.
Single Track making a move there on bits. They head out into turn one and he's got the inside line, and once again the anchors come out. That's a textbook move from Martin, who is up into P3. Remember, Bailey has that 5-second penalty up ahead, so even though that gap is 6 seconds, Single Track is on the medium, the faster tyre. He's got a potential P2 on the hand, so he won't want to let up any time.
Yeah, and don't forget also, Single Track is well in this title fight as well. He's still within the points range. Obviously, I think he's going away in a few weeks, but he's going to want to prove to these guys, look, I would have still been here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
but he's going to be chomping at the bit to get to Chris Bailey, as is the former Elite Tier champion Mark. He's going to be wanting to navigate his way past Carl as quickly as possible and get within that 5 seconds of Bailey as well.
I think Carl is a bit of a sitting duck. He's gone 16 laps on those hards. I'm not quite sure if he's thinking of taking them to the end or not. I might be tempted if I was him to get off them and onto a pair of mediums, because they are looking a little bit slow around here.
He may be waiting it out for a safety car potentially, because that could benefit him quite significantly.
Not a bad strategy. There was always that threat around the corner. Obviously, we've only got a field of 12 now, so the threat is reduced as Saviour pops in another purple lap. Once he's on those mediums, he's been absolutely flying up front and making them work to his advantage. Mark maybe not closing up on Carl as I thought he would. That gap is under a second now, though.
Also pit as well.
There we go. That's why.
I talk about a driver, they go to the pit. So, Johnny Smooth, hi. No, Ghost Rider, interestingly, he's put the soft on. So, and do you know what the really sad thing for him is? He's come out behind his arch nemesis, Lorpy. So. He's not going to be happy.
No, he's not, but the gap is 8 seconds, so he's going to have to drive very quick, make up at least a second a lap on the cars ahead. Let's see, Bit is going to come out in between 9 and 10. I'm not quite sure if Ghost Rider had an incident, because he was right up the back of Lorpy.
He's jumped Carl, hasn't he? Carl's actually jumped Ghost Rider here, so
yeah,
I wonder if he's had a moment or something on his soft tyre. I
think that might be the only thing that explains it, or somewhere along the way, because I'm surprised that the gap is that big. We've got quite a nice spread field at the moment, so everybody just getting into the zone. I'm going to pop on board with Kaiser Soze, who's on those hard tyres, to go to the end. We know that they're not as quick as the mediums in front, but that person in front is Night Shadow. Gav, second place in the Challenger tier tonight, leading the Challenger tier title overall. I wonder if he'll want to defend much from Kaiser Soze, or if he'll just let him by if it comes to it, because the last thing you want to do is have a big incident as we come into the end of this race.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing is, the field is fairly spread at the minute. It's almost like a calm before the storm at the moment. Like, obviously, that gap out front, mammoth now between those two. And the other thing is, Martin hasn't probably made the inroads you might expect on Chris with the fresher and better tyre, so...
No, I do wonder, like, maybe he had to make the inroads now before that medium starts to really go off towards the end. Doesn't mean he won't be pushing, though. He'll still see his opportunity. I think he might be a little bit wary from Mark Hodgson behind, who's also quite pacey.
He's starting to he's taken about 3 or 4 tenths out just in the first sector of Martin here, so Mark seems to be hooking this up quite nicely. Don't forget, he is the Tier 2 championship leader as well, so and we've seen a few battles in Tier 2 this season between these two, so they are familiar with each other, that is for sure.
Oh, certainly are. Friends off it, but rivals on the track tonight as they'll be battling it out for that last podium place. Kaiser Soze making a little bit of headway on Night Shadow, that gap now down to under a second. I think that's where we're likely to see our next move on track.
Yeah, I think it definitely is. Kaiser Soze he's shown some great pace today, Kaiser Soze. It's a shame that it hasn't necessarily worked out the way he could have wanted to, because he'd have been, I suspect, probably right in that battle with Martin and Mark if it wasn't for a bit of unfortunate. Yeah,
it's just been incidents, but part of tonight has just been staying alive, hasn't it? Because you think of the great drivers we've lost, G-Star, Dynamite, Jackster. You know, they were all big title contenders, all people who were very fast on their day, but they weren't able to make to the end, and it means people like Kaiser Soze, like Night Shadow, can be the ones to make hay. As we head down into 130, is Kaiser Soze going to look for the move here? I think he's just keeping line astern now, making it move. Is Gav going to cede the position for the DRS? No, he doesn't think about it this time. And now it's all up to Kaiser to get traction out of this onto the main straight. If you want to take it away, Carl. Sorry, Connor.
So, I don't know if you've seen out front, but Chris Bailey's taken a second out of Saviour in the last lap.
Ooh.
So, I'm wondering if Saviour has either had a little bit of a moment or those mediums are starting to go. And if they are, Chris will be licking his lips, but don't forget Chris has got that 5-second penalty, which is a bit of a problem. So, to make 7.6 seconds up and then gap another 5 is, I think, going to be a bit too much to ask from Chris, especially against a driver like Saviour.
I do think the win is off the cards for Chris at the moment, but like I said earlier, it doesn't mean that the race is over. 18 points is still a lot to make up on your championship rivals.
And I think now this is almost damage limitation for Chris as well, bearing in mind G-Star's out too, so...
Yeah. What I will say about Xavier is before he had a moment with a wobble or whatever, he was putting purple after purple after purple, and he had 3 fastest laps of the race so far, really making those tyres work for him. He's almost goes sideways through that chicane as I'm on board with him now. Let's see what lap time he can put in now. I'm just going to have a look at this. So he was really leaning on that tyre. Now those mediums are plus a second on his fastest time. His fastest time was only on lap 20, 21. So that shows you how quickly these mediums do fall off around here.
I do think he may have had a moment somewhere in the S section though, because all of a sudden the gap dropped straight from 8.6 to 7.6. So it did look like it may have just been one moment there for Xavier, but at the end of the day, I think Xavier's at the point now where he can almost just coast it home. It doesn't really matter if the gap comes down too much, as long as obviously it doesn't get to the point where... Whereas if he actually pushes and spins now, he's going to have the issue of, oh no, Chris is passed, oh no, he could gap me by 5 seconds, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'd be taking it very easy if I was Xavier.
Yeah, and I think that's entirely sensible to do. It doesn't matter if Chris is a couple of tenths slower and he's more consistent, because if Bailey closes that gap to 3-4 seconds, shrug your shoulders, it's okay. He doesn't need to worry about that. It's Chris. All the pressure is on Chris. He's the one who has to do the pushing. He's the one with the 5-second penalty, and he will not want that to count when we get past the line here. But nice.
I think luckily for Chris, sorry to interrupt you, but luckily for Chris is we're sort of coming out of safety car territory now. So, and he's got the gap to Martin, so he may well have secured his P2.
Yeah, fingers crossed now. I mean, yeah, I do. I know some people are big fans of a late safety car. Me, personally, I would rather see this race come to a steady conclusion rather than have a 5-lap shootout, because it is always a pain. I think the one driver who's making inroads on somebody else is Mark Hodgson. I've been looking at that gap now. It's around about 2 seconds, down to 1.4. Really interesting to see what happens once he is in that DRS of Martin ahead. That is, of course, the last podium position we've got. These are both elite drivers. And yeah, I wonder if now the time that, it's hammer time for Mark, he's really going to push, and he won't want to come up short like Michael Carrick did on Wednesday night.
I hope he doesn't wish this back. No, I'm sure he'll forgive me very quickly. But no, I think Mark is definitely not one to give up. He's going to want every point, whether he's in the championship fight or not. I'm actually not sure. I don't think Mark's raced very much next this season, but we know Mark wants to be as competitive as he can be in every race he does. But the other interesting thing here is, I mean, Mutts Nuts has sort of driven a fairly straightforward race here, and he got past Gav early on and has just sort of built the gap and kept his way.
It's been a stunning race from Mutts Nuts. I think we've usually had a lot of focus on Gav, who's fallen slowly back down the field. You'd expect maybe that he'd want to get as many points as he was, extend that lead at the top of the Challenger Championship. But Mutts Nuts, let's see. I wonder where he is in the championship, if he's in contention.
Have a quick look if you want me to.
Thank you ever so much. But yeah, a nice drive, and yeah, fancy livery as well, black and white. Keeping it simple. This race has been far from black and white for many of our drivers, but finds himself in P5 on the road and our highest Challenger tier driver, so he will take maximum points home tonight if it stays like this. Back up the field though, one position earlier, and now look at that, Mark Hodgson, DRS flap wide open. He won't quite have the speed or the pace to catch up with Martin this lap, but he's probably got, 2 more opportunities to do so, and for every tenth he takes out of that car in front, Martin will be getting more and more nervous.
So, for the Challenger tier, Mutts Nuts is in P6. He is around, to be honest, he hasn't raced very much, but I'll tell you something, right? Mm-hmm. He's raced the last 3 races in MRCX, and he's finished 2nd, 3rd and 2nd.
Ooh, so this could be the elusive win he was looking for. We got a yellow in Sector 1. Who's that? That
is, I think, Carl.
It is Carl, because he was well ahead of Ghost Rider, and they're going to go side by side through the S's. You don't see much racing through there.
Not through there, boys, please.
And it is Ghost Rider who backs out and says, no, okay, I'm on the softer tyre, although I wonder how much those softs are hanging on to him as well now. Probably taken most of the life out of them, but it does mean that we've got a tasty battle at the back here. And also, don't forget, we've also got Mark Hodgson as well, who is coming up to 130. Is he going to think about having a move as we head down into one of the fastest corners on the circuit. I'm going to try and control my controller with the cat on my lap. Not there anymore, so I can focus on Mark. That gap is all about traction out of these last two corners as we head into lap 26. He knows his chances are running out, but he's simply not close enough. Martin must be burning up all of his ERS. What was that? On the commentary, I think I heard a slight lift from Mark. I wonder, maybe he's underfueled or just trying to save some ERS. He seemed to back out that fairly early.
Yeah, I think potentially underfueled, or maybe he just hasn't got the grip to feel so comfortable on those mediums. Don't forget, 9 laps, this was round about where we were seeing, look, he's a bit twitchy in the S section. Also, I'm wondering, those tyres might be reaching the end of their life. The issue is as well, dirty air through that S section is not nice at all.
Yeah, no, he must be...
Oh, Mark's round! He's got a second deck now.
Goodness me, yeah, I don't know what happened there.
He just lost traction, it looked like, on the exit, because he was nowhere near the curb either.
Oh, that's such a shame. So we've been denied our last lap battle for 3rd and 4th, unless Martin does anything silly now. It looks like our top 3 are pretty sewn up, as we're seeing pretty fair gaps all the way down the field. It has been an
Mark will be counting his lucky stars that he had no one within range of him there.
Yes, yeah, no, he was lucky that he had the gap between him and Mudsnuts as Saviour pumps in another fastest lap of the race. Well, I think we talked about when he would use his tyre, when he's not, when he would use his ERS and not. I just had a look on the dashboard there. I think it's fair to say that that battery is well and truly empty as you see that light flashing on the back, but he doesn't need it.
I think the time when the gap was coming down, I think he did probably back off and think, right, I need to save these tyres a little bit, and now he's just got out there and just... The only sad thing for him is you don't get a point for fastest lap in MRCX.
No, but it has been like a excellent race. We've got several champions, like several drivers with little trophies by their name. Saviour is one of them, and he's proved every inch a champion tonight, hasn't he? Because he's
he definitely has. The toughest bit about this is going to be picking a driver of the day.
Yeah, there's been a lot. There's also like that element of like, I've got to think of 2 different races in my head and try and combine them into one. And remember...
Oh, trust me, wait till you have to read the results out at the end and you're like, okay, Mudsnuts is 5th, but he's also a winner. Oh no. And then you have to like comprehend all that and it gets so confusing, trust me. But...
I will try my best, or I might just leave that for Baby Hornet and his results. We'll do them as they stand on the night. But as we see Saviour, he is coasting to victory now. It's been... as I said before, a textbook performance from start to finish. Found himself right at the back of the grid, but now as he goes his way through the last bit of chicane, that car planted, he's going to go across the line as our race winner tonight. What an excellent drive it's been from the German, P1, and behind him we've got Chris Bailey. Fought to the end. I know he's frustrated about that red flag, but he's come out of this not too bad. 2nd place, nothing to be too shabby about.
I'll tell you what though, it's just he didn't serve it, and now another 5's been added. Is he going to lose P2?
I don't think he is, because single track.
Okay, he got away with it. Thank goodness for that.
Single track.
Oh no, that would have just been his 5 being added. That's fine. Yeah. Ignore me. I'm chatting rubbish, guys.
No, that's absolutely fine. The single track cross line in 3rd. Mark Hodgson, great drive from backwards as well. 4th. Mudsnuts 5th. Kaiser Soze, a bit unfortunate to end up in 6th. He had an excellent race. That's 6th place for him. Nice Shadow. Oh, there's a little bit of a race between him and Lorpy. I don't know if he had a little incident towards the end of the race, but he comes across in P7, Lorpy P8, and then Bit had an unfortunate spin towards the end, but he seems to have gapped Ghost Rider, who is struggling on those soft tyres that just seem to go away at the end. So that's P9 for Bit. Ghost Rider comes home in 10th place on the road. Then it's back Mazo in 11th. And last, but able to keep his car on the road, not DNF, it's Johnny Smooth.
Yeah, that was... I mean, we've seen some great racing today, some side-by-sides where you definitely should not see the side-by-side racing, and to be honest, we've seen very few actual crashes. We had a bit of carnage lap 1, but I think, in general, the race seemed pretty clean.
Yes, it was excellent racing from all drivers concerned, as we see Saviour take the top step of the podium. The Michael Schumacher the 2 British drivers there flanked the Jenson Button and Damon Hill. A familiar sight as the German takes the win. Excellent driving from everyone today. Who is your driver of the day?
As much as we can appreciate Saviour coming from last, Chris coming from the back. I'm actually going to go with a man that had a very quiet race, and the reason it was a quiet race was because he made it quiet, and that's Nuts.
Yes, I think excellent considering where did he finish? Let's see, he finished in 5th place, ahead of quite a lot of elite drivers as well.
And he's also won it for his own tier, so I think, I think he's a fairly solid choice.
Yeah, won it for his own tier, first race win as it was for the Challenger tier. So let's just take you through that final standings. Have you got them now? Saviour, P1, Best Bailey in 2, Single Track in 3rd, Martin in 4th, Nuts in 5th, but he's also the winner of our Challenger tier here tonight. Kaiser Soze 6th, but that'll be 5th in the Elite. Night Shadow 7th, but that will be taking 2nd in the Challenger tier. Then I'm going to have to make it up as we go along. So Lorphy 8th, Bit 9th, Ghost Rider 10th, Black Mesa 11th, Johnny Smooth 12th, and then unfortunately we have the drivers that did not finish. Donny, RFC Danny, Kid Dynamite and G-Star Snipes, and the other 4 also failed to make it out of our first race just before the red flag. Oh, it's been a busy night, but I think it's been an excellent start to our run of Japanese races. You can join us and we can do this all over again, and we have Tier 1 and Tier 2 that will be starting on Monday. I'm really looking forward to that, aren't you, Connor?
Yeah, I think this track is one that's going to bring a lot of action and a lot of excitement. It's the perfect track for F1, really, isn't it? In every single way. It brings a difficulty aspect. It can also bring that wet weather aspect.
Oh,
I won't say it too loud because I think Tier 2 will eat me alive if I say it too loud. But
no, there's a chance for chaos, and it usually happens here. So yeah, don't forget to join us on Monday. All right, everybody, take care. Cheers.
See you later.